Welcome to the Startup Competitors Podcast, where we talk with early-stage entrepreneurs to understand what information they use to inform product roadmap, strategy, and market differentiation.
Welcome to the Startup Competitors Podcast. Today we have Dan Johnson from Tool Werks. Dan, welcome.
Oh, thanks a lot. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Why don't we start? Well, actually, I'll set a little context. I heard you give a pitch at Launch Fishers for FlatZap, which got me to reach out to you to hear the FlatZap pitch. So I want to do that.
Okay.
And then we're going to circle back and talk a little bit, maybe also have you give the pitch for Tool Werks. But let's start with FlatZap, which is one of your products that you guys have built, and maybe start with that elevator pitch.
Okay, great. So FlatZap is the FlatZap photo management system. What that does is it allows you to capture, organize, and save images by location. So what happens is we have comprised of both a mobile application, both in iOS and Android, and also a back office dashboard where you actually go on into the field, for example. Let's just use, for example, a construction site, because that seems to be a lot of the customers. They can take a picture at a location. It draws a geofence around that location. The point of capture happens with the mobile app. And then that picture is then moved back into the cloud. The location's identified and moves back into the cloud, and it's available instantly in the back office, organized by that location. And so for, say, a construction firm who has lots of projects, and there are a lot of utility pictures taken on those projects, might be pre-construction, during construction, might be issues or different things that happen in that process. There literally could be thousands of pictures taken, and those pictures are all organized by location automatically and then brought back. Whereas in the past, they might have had to come in and cable up a phone or bring in a flash drive or any one of a number of ways, email, but always kind of challenging to keep track of those images and get them back into the office, into the right job folders.
All right. And then just real quick status of the product FlatZap. So any metrics you're willing to share, number of pictures, number of clients, anything that's going to help paint a picture for where you are in that product journey?
Sure. We've launched the product commercially in the fourth quarter of last year. Right now, we're continuing to add new customers weekly. It is a business product, and so it's a SaaS product. So we're adding companies, and then various sizes, and each company pays per month per user. Right now, I think we're at around 30 companies and somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50 to 60,000 images that we have under repository. So on average, companies are adding about 700 to 1,000 pictures in the first month. So immediately it becomes a really important part of their business, in many ways transformational, because it eliminates a lot of the communication time, productivity. You don't have the back office having to call the field personnel. They simply take the picture and it ends up in the back office organized automatically.
And do you find most of your companies are happy to use the product kind of as is with your current interfaces, or are they asking you to then help them integrate that product with other ways that they currently manage different documents and photos and different systems that they have?
That's a great question. We have a really our own kind of closed-in ecosystem that we kind of manage the whole process, but it's becoming more apparent as we talk to more companies, and we have added more features based upon feedback from the customers, and is that we need the ability to integrate that into third-party software, CRMs, other very industry-specific software that they're currently using. And we've already built the APIs for that. We already are in the process of doing that. And we're kind of taking it on a case-by-case basis, on a customer-by-customer basis. And we'll kind of do those integrations, and then we'll have them for any future customers that are using that platform. But that is going to be a very big part of our business and our ability to expand our customer base.
Nice. And then the other thing, when I heard your pitch originally that I thought of, so we have one of the companies I'm involved with is also in the CRE space and is a SaaS offering for like mall operators, people who own skyscrapers, like anybody. If you own a big building, you've got a bunch of tenants and you're moving them around. It's a product for that, which when I heard your pitch, you do this way better than we do, which made me think like, well, wait, why would we go build that? Let's just use that. That looks awesome. So, which led me to the question, like, I also can't be the only person thinking of that, right? So like, this is a real problem that you're solving. And one of the things that's really nice about your product is how focused it is. Have you done any partnerships with other firms in this or kind of SaaS products in the space where they integrate your product as kind of a feature or a module as part of what they offer?
We don't yet, but we anticipate that'll happen. I mean, really, it is a very efficient product, and it's technically very easy for the, say, field personnel to use. What's been interesting is kind of the use cases that have come up, because there's been things that we have clients that I would have never thought about. I guess like any business, you kind of think, oh, this is who we're trying to target or who we think we're going to solve a problem for. But we've got one person that does nothing but takes pictures of silos, and they just take like one picture and then they go to the next silo and take a picture. And it's interesting, And so
that's a job, right? They're not just like some weird farm creeper
I don't know.
driving around through the country taking photos of silos.
Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe they just like, all these silos. But so it's pretty crazy. But it's just amazing all the different jobs that are out there, and all the different potential applications for it. We have another company that's a satellite dish installer that takes photos before and after and that kind of thing. But, there's just a lot of use cases that we're not even thinking about that are kind of coming up. And it's kind of interesting and fun to see that happen.
Oh, super interesting. All right. So let's rewind, pop the stack a little bit. App Tool Werks. Give me the 60-second pitch. App Tool Werks. Who are you? What do you guys do?
So the overall big picture App Tool Werks is we wanted to create a shop that would innovate, build, and then market software services. And really everything that we're doing has to do with mobile, and it has a lot to do with cloud-based. And so we're excited about the products that we're doing. We have 3 products right now that are in the App Store, and we have 2 more that are in development right now. FlatZap is probably the flagship product because it was the first commercially available product that we developed. We have another product called JobMe, which allows candidates to post themselves up within the app for free and allows employers to find those candidates very easily. And the whole idea behind that was that pretty much everything you see is job-centric, and this was really candidate-centric. And so it's all geocoded to how far that candidate's willing to travel to their job and where the job is located. So if you're an employer and you're looking for a very specific type of position, you can very quickly find it on JobMe. And then the candidates that are within the driving distance that they've decided would come up as potential candidates you could talk to. So it's very much an immediate connection. And if anybody's looking for a job, it's a really challenging process to do it the traditional way. And this kind of cuts that out and tries to get the 2 parties together a lot faster. And then the other product's called CallDeck. That product is just launching probably, and then there's a version out now. We have a major overhaul happening in the next week that we're doing some final testing on. But that product allows you to create groups of contacts and then organize those contacts and share those with others through a mobile app. We call them decks. And so you might have a deck for family members or soccer team parents or your employee list. But you can share that deck with other people, and you can create this kind of collaborative type of organization to something that's really highly unorganized right now. And it allows you to kind of isolate your personal and your work and other activities.
And then I see on the website you have CityQuest coming soon.
CityQuest is one of the products in development. And then also we have another product we have not released a name on yet that we're really excited about as well.
Can you talk about CityQuest yet?
Yeah, I can't really talk about any of that stuff, right?
All right.
We'll come back for round 2.
Yeah, no, that's good. I guess maybe some high-level questions around all of that. Are these internal ideas that you guys are coming up with as a team and saying, let's take to market? Or do you have entrepreneurs coming to you and saying, hey, I have this thing. We're looking for a partner to do this with?
That's a great question. I think really I'm probably the chief innovator, but was certainly from anybody in the company. But we're all doing it. We're doing it right now all internally. So we're building our own products and we're bringing them to market. And we're excited about that. And I think we've got some good things in the works. We have some things out. But what's interesting is we've had other people approach us for that very other question, which is, would you be willing to take my idea and bring it to market? And that's something that we've talked about. We might do that, and we'd have to think about how we would arrange that business model. But certainly it's something that we have a certain expertise in these various areas that might come into real handy to be able to do that kind of thing.
When you're ready to go down that path, let me know. We'll grab beers. I'll scare you. I'll scare you straight.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now we have total control. Soup to nuts. We got everything that we're kind of we're kind of controlling it all, and that would be different to add another outside parties into it. So,
all right, well, very
I'm sure
cool.
you will scare me straight on that.
Thanks for the well, and now that you've done this, by the way, you're only going to get like more requests from people who listen to this. You're like, oh, if you're thinking about it, love to talk to you about it.
Okay, yeah, right.
All right, so let's switch gears back to FlatZap. Thanks for that diversion. That's super cool, and congratulations, Dave. I mean, there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of people who talk about doing that, and the fact that you and the team have actually done it, launched 3 products, have 2 more in the works, dude. That seriously, congrats.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. So, and it's fun to see these things come together.
Yeah. All right, FlatZap. When you think of competitors in the market space for FlatZap, who comes to mind?
It's kind of a unique space. There is one direct competitor that we ran across. We haven't ran across to them from a business standpoint. We just know that they exist. That's the only other direct competitor that we're aware of. Although I think that for us, it's probably not so much that. It's more various CRM platforms or various industry-specific platforms that maybe build their own product within their platform. And if the company's using that platform, they really need to bring on another outside SaaS product to be able to solve that problem. And that's where we need to really, try to do as many integrations as we can to kind of work around that.
So to make that tangible, that means if you're going out to a prospect today and they're like, and you ask them, how are you solving this today? They're using Salesforce and they're just uploading the photos to Salesforce?
Well, not so much Salesforce. I mean, that could happen like that. But I think the more likely might be they're using a very industry specific platform that isn't one that we may never even have heard of it, or might be very, very specific.
Okay.
That, like, for example, we had a request the other day for a building inspecting group that wanted us to integrate into their platform. Well, there's a specific platform that this government entity uses that specifically tailors to building inspectors. And so there's all kinds of these platforms out there. And so some of them have a photo, some kind of photo management to some degree, but none of them are really that sophisticated because it's just an add-on to their service. It's not something they're putting a ton of time in, where we've put a lot of time and thought into it. But they do have something, And so the question is, can we talk to them to maybe displace this very rudimentary thing that they have with something that's a lot more robust that we could provide? Does that make sense? Or, is there a way to work around that issue?
Yeah, got it. So when you are going out in the sales cycle, what does that conversation look like? Like, do you find that you're doing an education on like why their current solution isn't working for them? Or are they like, no, I see it. Like, I'm in, like, let's set up a trial and go, right? Like, walk me through a typical sales call.
Well, I think that is, I think it's I think it's interesting in general just about the sales process. We talk a lot about product market fit and everything else. And I think as entrepreneurs, we think a lot about building something that people would like, but we don't probably spend enough time talking about what's the sales market fit, or as we used to call the sales strategy. How are we going to get this product out there, and how are we going to get it in the hands of people, and what's going to be that process of introducing this product? And so we've worked a lot of that. We've tried a lot of different things, and I think we kind of refined that down. And for us, it comes down to being able to demo the product and being able to explain it. Pretty quickly, people can see the benefit. In fact, will come up to us and say, wow, we've been looking for something like this, or this is a major pain for us, and you solve the problem. What we found, as far as from a sales process, it might be a little counterintuitive, but if we can get the administrative personnel in that company on our side, it's sold. We're really less selling the owners or the CEOs or the operators, and we're more selling the people that are actually having to deal with it day to day. And they'll carry the water for us.
Because they're the ones who have to run down the photos when you need them, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. They're the ones having to make 10 phone calls to the same person saying, hey, we've got to submit this insurance claim. We need these photos. And I've been trying to get them for 3 days, and I call you every day. And this eliminates that. So if you can get that admin person, it pretty quickly, they like, look, we need this. And they carry the water, and they help get it done. Once it's implemented, then they're just like, this is the greatest thing I've really ever done, because it's just such a big part of what they have to do.
This episode is brought to you by Full Stack PEO. Most founders start companies because they figured out a better way to solve a problem or serve a need, not because they love tracking payroll, filling out compliance forms, and explaining employee benefits packages. And yet, all that stuff still has to be done. That's why there's Full Stack PEO. Full Stack PEO specializes in turnkey HR for emerging companies, not just those core services, but advice and expertise that help founders maximize employee potential. Curious? Find out more at fullstackpeo.com.
To go back to that one known competitor who you don't have to call them out by any stretch, but do you do any ongoing monitoring of that competitor?
Well, we haven't yet, but we are probably going to do a little bit more of that. We've seen that they've visited our stuff. I mean, we understand that, but we've talked to them briefly at a trade show, but it really is not something that's become we've not really ran across. We actually never ran across them talking to another to a company or a prospect, and so it's a pretty big market. It's such a big market, and they're fairly early stage as well. So I think that we haven't bumped into each other too much. That may be something down the road we do. We're not doing a lot of that now.
Okay. When you think of some of the more I mean, if you're coming up against niche CRMs everywhere you go, then maybe you're not going to hit any of those. I guess one of the things that occurs to me is if you were coming up against, let's say Salesforce, right, or whoever, right, your HubSpot, have you come across anybody enough in the sales cycle that you start to get worried that, well, what we're doing, while it's a full, robust software package for us, for them, it could maybe just be a feature, and maybe it's something that they could do pretty quick. How much does that enter your calculus, and what are you guys doing to hedge against that?
Well, I do think that the complexity of what we've built and the depth of it is it would be very hard, I think, for them, or not very desirous of them, to put that much resources into doing that one specific thing when they're trying to do 15 things. So I think, it's something we need to be aware of, and we need to think about how we can work around that. But I also think that we need to say, let's have a superior technological, product here that we can go to them and say, look, I know you're doing this, but you're kind of doing it in a rudimentary way. Maybe there's a way we could work together on this, and we could really improve the quality of your product by bringing our product into it. We've spent 2.5 years developing this. It's very robust. It's been our singular focus, and so this is something we could really it would be a huge advantage for you.
So looking across the current products, JobMe, FlatZap, CallDeck. I guess CallDeck doesn't hit. I mean, obviously, mobile is a big component to all three of them. FlatZap and JobMe both have a little bit of geolocation focus with each of them. Probably not so much with CallDeck, or is there a piece of that?
Well, no, I think I think those other two, and I think a lot of the other things we're doing are very much geolocation oriented.
Yeah. So talk about that a little bit. I guess, why did you guys pick some of the themes that you picked when you thought about the different products that you wanted to ideate against and or prototype? And is that just built on a strength that you guys have, like somebody on the team has deep geolocation experience? Or I guess, how did you guys arrive at some of those? Where did the ideation take you to get to these products?
Well, I think it's a great question. I've always had an affinity toward this geolocation and really believe for a very long time that that's where the real opportunity lies, especially in mobile technology. And you see it every day now. But I probably was thinking about that way before it's become so commonplace. I think now there's a tremendous opportunity to take that geolocation ability and apply it to a number of different types of software products that can help solve problems on the business front or in different ways. And so I think that it opens up a whole new possibility of all these different niche products out there that creates a lot of opportunity. And so we think it's a very rich opportunity environment, and we look for those, and we think geolocation's just a big part of that.
So you don't have to talk about potential future product ideas, but when you think about just macro level trends, whether mobile or other technologies that you see coming down the pipeline, which of those have you excited when you think about, like, oh yeah, when that becomes real, like, when augmented reality becomes ubiquitous and it's actually real, like, yeah, I'm super excited about the ways we can apply that in business, or, and it doesn't have to be that. When you look out in the future, what are the things that you see that have you excited, as excited as maybe geolocation or some of the other stuff you've done? Well,
I think there's still a lot of opportunity in geolocation. What's happening now, more satellites are being launched. They're able to really refine the accuracy of the geolocation more and more and more. And so that refinement creates a lot of opportunities because the more accurate that is, the more things that you can do with it. And so we're doing things at a very defined level now, but it's going to get even much better as we follow the different trade publications on this kind of thing. There's just a lot of things that are coming out that's going to make that even better. I think that for us, augmented reality is a huge thing. We actually have some preliminary work on some stuff we're working on that right now. And there is a huge future potential to implement that into technology to benefit the way that companies operate and the way that they collect information, the way that they manage information. I still think that cloud computing is still a huge piece of it. It all come together. I think the mobile, cloud computing, and even going back to to manage it all through a dashboard. I mean, all these things coming together. It just is really you can really do a lot of really interesting things now.
I'm interested. What's your background?
My background is I'm a very experienced entrepreneur. I had a publishing media company that I helped co-found that ultimately was acquired. We grew up from a very small single room office and to a national company. And so this is another round, and this is really exciting because this is very fresh and early. And
publishing media to mobile apps.
Well,
not a jump.
Well, publishing media even involved not just publishing, but a lot of media. So there was a lot of website stuff that was involved in that too. And so, but you got to change with the times. And I think you got to be you got to persevere as an entrepreneur, and you got to do different things, and you got to keep adapting. So we're really excited about what's going on.
Are you game to talk a little bit of inside baseball around App Tool Werks and how you guys structure some of these things?
As far as the way we structure the business, or
the ventures. Like I'm totally interested. Is FlatZap its own company? Is called its own company? JobMe?
That's a great question. Right now,
and by the way, you're allowed to say no.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything great secret there or anything like that. I think we've been so focused on some of the iteration and some of the work that we've been doing that we haven't worried about the structure so much. But ultimately, I think that's probably an open discussion, how we're going to ultimately do that. And if we did take outside investment, which we have not done yet, we self-funded everything.
You can't beat me to my questions. That's not.
That's a good one, right? But that might require a different structure if we decided to take it, say, on a particular product, or we just did it across the whole company,
Or even obviously the dream scenario, somebody comes along and it's just like, hey, I'm going to buy the FlatZap thing.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Put it together, hand it off, right? And it's like, ooh.
Yeah, and we
haven't done that yet.
We actually, I think what we think about here is we think, okay, if we develop these products, we push them out, maybe there is one that spins off or gets acquired or something like that, and that those resources go back to the main company, and we continue to iterate and innovate and create things, and so that also might come into play when we're thinking about how to structure these various services that we're offering.
How big is the team now?
It's pretty small. There's 5 and then one place. And then we have some distributive workforce, probably about 15 total. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. We get a lot of work done, a lot of late nights.
I know how that goes.
I'm sure.
I guess talk about, so you're 6 months into the FlatZap experiment. Is that about right? Sales wise?
Yeah.
10,000 photos a month. That's pretty good. Just doing quick math.
Yeah.
So talk about the next 12 months-ish, or whatever timeline you guys think in terms of go-to-market strategy. So I'd love to know, early sales are one thing, but when you think about no, we're ready to light this thing up. Here's how we're thinking about marketing. Here's how we're thinking about where we want to be physically. Here's what we're thinking from a sales perspective. Can you share this is how we think in the next 6, 12 months, whatever that timeline is, we're really going to get this to be a household name in the industries that we want to be in a part of?
Okay. So, I think those are really good questions, and they kind of all come around one couple central themes. One is we really wanted to perfect, or not perfect, but get as close as perfection as we could to the sales process and how we were going to most efficiently market, the most cost-effective way we were going to market, the most efficient way we were going to market and use time. And so we start out with a very small sales staff to do that. Once we get that down, then our intention is to say, okay, now we've got that. Now we're going to expand the sales staff using that process. And so that's kind of where we're at. We're just probably at the end of the refining process. And now that we've kind of got that down, we can go ahead and start to scale it internally. And so that really then comes down to the analytics of, what's the conversions, what's the numbers, how many contacts, how many can a person make, how many demos can we do, how many onboardings, all the different, sales matrix that we need to do. And I'd say we're still refining that, but I think once we get comfortable with that, then we would scale by adding more personnel to duplicate that process.
Okay. Do you think this is always going to be a sales-driven product, not necessarily a marketing-driven product?
Boy, we tried some straight-up marketing, was not very successful for us. We found more success through sales and through demos.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. It's that kind of product. It kind of requires a little bit of education, a little bit more identifying the problem and kind of understanding the pain point and then saying here's our solution to it. And so it requires a little bit more of a story.
All right.
Oh, and the other thing I was going to say about the scaling is that the scaling is also determinant on capital and, right. And so for us, part of the decision
it's free
is
to scale.
Right. It's free. It doesn't cost a dime. So for us, the part of the idea is okay, now that we've developed this process, do we need to bring in capital to kind of expand it faster, or do we just kind of grow organically? And that's something that we're going to have to decide, I think.
Yeah. Switch back to insider baseball now for Tool Werks. One of the challenges I could foresee for you, based on my experience, is that there's
a lot of challenges, I'm sure.
Well, yeah. But as each of these, you're not going to, sadly, not everything's going to be a winner, but you will get some winners, right? So so let's say FlatZap's a winner, the next one's a winner, JobMe starts to get some traction. So as some of these things start to get traction, you're going to very quickly come up with a leadership deficit.
Sure.
Is my suspicion, right? So talk to me a little bit about that. It's one thing when you're in ideation mode and late nights coding and getting product out the door. Once those things actually start to hit and you start to scale and now it's like, well, wait, who's managing all those salespeople we brought in? Who's doing those investor pitches? Who's doing the legal work and the research with the M&A team that wants to buy this product but not any of the other ones? All of that stuff takes, and this because you've grown and sold a company. What's the strategy for you guys around that and where you find that leadership?
That's a great question. And that comes back to capital, I think, number one. But it isn't just capital. Capital will only get you so far. It gives you the ability to do these things, but the execution on it is really the key. And it is really, really intense when you're doing a lot of things like this with a very small group of people, and you're multitasking across all these different specialties and these different areas of the business. So that is, I think, a big challenge. It's a challenge anytime you scale a business. It's a double challenge if you don't have the capital. There's two components to that. And the other part about it is the business gets running out in front of you a little bit, and then you've not done the preparation to go raise capital. Then that also is another potentially huge time consumption to do that kind of thing. And so that is, you're absolutely right. That is the most challenging part, because you're going to have to bring in talent, and the business has to take shape as it starts to scale. And that requires more people in more leadership positions and more people that are going to take on different responsibilities instead of, just a few people doing all of it. And that is, that's a big challenge. And that's something we certainly would have to cross over. I wish I had a better answer for that. The answer is it's going to be hard.
Especially right now, talent, leadership. Talent is a massive problem for everybody in our market, right? So it's at every level. It's
a huge problem.
Yep.
But it's something that everybody has to face, right?
All right. Well, thanks for the transparency. I love it. Really appreciate it. So if people want to learn more about FlatZap, where should they go?
FlatZap, they can go to FlatZap.com, FlatZap.com. Certainly can find out more there. And then for Tool Werks, which is the main overall company,
yep.
If they go to Tool Werks, it's spelled WERKS.com. Why we did that? We just wanted to be cute, I guess. But basically, at the bottom of that page, there's an email address you can add in there, and we'll give you any kind of news updates of any kind of new product updates or anything that we're doing. So we'd be happy to keep you informed. And also, we're very happy to get suggestions on various things as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the
Thanks.
time.
This has been a blast. I really enjoyed it. So
this has been good.
Thank you very much.
If you're thinking of launching a SaaS product, Startup Competitors can provide data on your closest competitors, survey potential users, or provide other product validation services. Learn more at startupcompetitors.com.